The war has led to a global energy crisis, food shortages, especially grain, inflation, and market instability. European nations grapple with the intake of refugees and the rising cost of energy. While developing countries suffer from disrupted supply chains, is peace possible? Despite exhaustion on both sides, peace seems a distant dream. Russia demands recognition of the territories it has annexed, while Ukraine refuses to surrender an inch of land. Diplomacy is stagnant, and political interests and rivalries seem to be overriding humanitarian concerns. Thousands have died, millions displaced, and the world watches as a geopolitical chess match continues, with no clear winner in sight. We are no longer in 2022 when Russian troops suddenly swept across the border. This is 2025, and this is the state of the Russia-Ukraine war. What started 2 years ago as a sudden invasion has become, by 2025, a long and exhausting war. One that neither side can claim to be winning. But let's rewind a bit. The war in Ukraine entered its third year with Russia firmly in control of parts of eastern Ukraine, especially the regions of Donbass, Zaporizhia, and Crimea. On the other side, Ukraine, backed by the might of NATO and an array of Western allies, has continued to put up a fierce resistance. But the war has become more than just battles and military gains. It's evolved into a hybrid battle involving cyber attacks, economic sanctions, and an intense information war. The front line may be in Ukraine, but the war is being fought and financed from all over the world. The United States and its NATO allies pledge their unwavering support for Ukraine, maintaining a steady flow of military and financial aid. In the face of this, Russia has quietly cobbled together a network of support, finding strategic value in partnerships with countries like China, Iran, and North Korea. While the UN and other global peace forums have called for ceasefires and diplomatic solutions, no significant progress has been made towards a long-term agreement. Instead, the conflict has intensified with each passing month, drawing in more nations and becoming increasingly brutal. The human cost of the war continues to mount. Millions have had to flee their homes, becoming refugees or internally displaced persons. The war has also had a devastating impact on the Ukrainian economy, with businesses destroyed and the agricultural sector in ruins. Beyond Ukraine's borders, the war has triggered a global economic crisis. Food prices have soared due to disruptions in the supply of Ukrainian grain. Energy costs have skyrocketed, especially in Europe, which relied heavily on Russian gas. The economic ripples extend to every corner of the globe, affecting markets, currencies, and everyday life. European nations are grappling with a challenging dilemma. They must balance their moral obligation to help Ukraine with the pressing need to protect their own economies and citizens. The influx of refugees has strained resources, and the rising cost of living has sparked protests and economic uncertainty. Many European countries are caught between supporting Ukraine and safeguarding their own national interests. On the other hand, Russia faces its own set of challenges. The economic sanctions imposed by Western nations have isolated Russia, hindering its ability to obtain essential goods and technologies. The war has also bolstered NATO's influence in Eastern Europe, with many countries strengthening their military alliances and defense capabilities. Despite these challenges, there seems to be little desire on either side to seek a compromise. Russia shows no signs of scaling back its military operations, and Ukraine remains steadfast in its refusal to negotiate while under military occupation. The international community's efforts to mediate a peace deal have so far been unsuccessful, with diplomatic efforts appearing to be reactive rather than proactive. Russia's annexation of Crimean territory in 2014 and its subsequent military actions in eastern Ukraine have fundamentally altered the security landscape of Europe. As the war drags on, the possibility of a negotiated settlement seems to diminish, replaced by a grim determination on both sides to prevail. It's a stark contrast to the hopes for a swift resolution that characterized the early days of the conflict. Instead, the war has become a protracted struggle with neither side willing to yield. So where does this leave us in 2025? The Russia-Ukraine conflict has transformed into a prolonged war of attrition. It's a far cry from the initial expectations of a decisive military victory within weeks. The war has not only failed to end, but has expanded, deepened, and intensified. As we look ahead, several questions arise. Can either side achieve its military objectives without total victory? How much longer can the international community sustain the current level of support for Ukraine? And most importantly, when will diplomacy take center stage again? One thing is certain, the conflict has transcended its initial boundaries. It's no longer just a war in Ukraine. It's become a front line of global power politics, a testing ground for new alliances and a battle for influence. The longer this war drags on, the deeper its scars will be, not just for Ukraine or Russia, but for the entire global order. If peace seems elusive, then the world must brace for more pain.